Hi people, Yasmine Galenorn here, and I am coming to you from my Facebook group. This is not live, but I am here to answer questions during the time that it's being videotaped or that you're watching it. And then Jen will collect questions afterwards um, to for me to answer next time. So let's get to it. Welcome to the Night Queen's Lair. Hello people. Happy Saturday. I know I missed last week with a video on my channel, and that was simply because I was coming off a long break and really didn't want to make one. So, but I'm back this week, and this week I'm just going to be talking to my readers a bit. And first I want to say welcome to all the new members in my Facebook group. We have, I think, about 53 new members over the past 2 days, ever since I sent out my newsletter. And I hope you enjoy being in the group. And we're going to have a whole lot of fun and settle in and join in the discussions, because that's what makes a group. So I also wanted to say thank you to everybody who has contacted me in the group and on my blog and through my contact page and via email about how much you love Blood Bonds. I was very nervous when it released because it is written differently than the rest of the books. And I know a lot of readers are really, really sad that the series has ended. But I'm very happy that it seems across the board people feel like gave it a good ending, and that was important to me, is to give the sisters a complete happy ending, to make it worth all the time they spent fighting all the demons and shadowing. So without giving any spoilers away, I'm also gratified by how much people loved the last chapter. That said, in answer to a number of questions, no, I'm not going to be writing a spin-off of Otherworld. It's done. It's time to let it rest. I'm not going to say that I'll never write anything in that world again. I've learned not to say never. But it's going to be a long time if I do, because I'm into new worlds now, and having spent 13 years with the sisters in my head, it's time to give all the other characters a chance and reach out and explore. For an author, writing one series for years is kind of like eating one food for the rest of your life. You may love that food, but it gets old after a while. Anyway, so again, thank you for sticking through it to the end, and I hope that you love what I've got in store for you just as much. That brings me to a note about these videos. For those of you who have not seen them, I try to make a video a week now, and I put it up on my YouTube channel. And when it's just talking to my readers like this and not about writing or some other subject, I also post it in my Facebook group and on my Facebook page. So today's one is in the Facebook page, and you can find the link to follow my YouTube channel if you want in the comments. Let me see. May is coming up. Besides Beltane, which is one of the holidays I follow, being pagan, on Beltane is my 26th wedding anniversary. Samwise and I will have been married 26 years. It's amazing. Doesn't seem that long, and yet it seems like a lifetime in a good way. It amazes me that I've actually managed to live in the same house with someone that long and still be happy and still be glad that, you know, we got handfasted and that we're together. Um, I don't play well with others for long periods of time in terms of hour after hour, day after day. That's one reason why I've always swore I'll probably never co-write, you know, collaborate on a book with other people unless it's just an anthology where we all put our own stories in. Because, yeah, I don't play well with others, not in that way. But Sam and I have really come a long ways from the time we started, and I won't bore you with a lot of details. We've been through a hell of a lot of hardships and a lot of hell. I mean, just not from each other, but from health incidents and things like that. And for us, it's made us stronger, and I think that hardships can do that. They either can tear you apart or they can make you stronger, and it depends on what you want it to be and how strong your connection is. So, also, I'm going to tell you a little story because some people often question the whirlwind romances in my books. You know, people get together pretty fast in my books. Well, that actually does happen. When I was 31, 32, back in 1992, so I was 31. I was living in a converted school bus. I had quit my job, taken my cats, and the few things I wanted to keep, my books, my crystals, my writing, and moved myself into a converted school bus and quit my job because I had just gotten out of a really bad relationship, 9 years abusive relationship, and I needed something different, and I didn't like my job, and I made enough reading tarot to support myself in terms of buying food and stuff. So yeah, I lived in a converted school bus, and I slept with a hatchet by my head because I was squatting on the back end of 5 acres. This corporation owned the land, and they didn't know I was there, and they didn't know the people who were living in the house up front were there. And so we were squatting on 5 acres, and I was at the back end, and nobody knew I was there except for the kids who were living up front. And, you know, if anything had happened, nobody could hear me scream, so I slept with a hatchet by my head. And duct tape was my best friend in terms of keeping things together. Anyway, so eventually the corporation found out we were there. They evicted us. We had to move. I parked my bus behind a friend's house who said I could, and decided I really didn't want to live in an alleyway. And my friend, his name was Rich, we weren't exactly a couple, but it was that weird nebulous sort of relationship. Anyway, he said, "You can move in with me. My roommate won't mind." Well, I had met his roommate once, and I was like, "I don't think your roommate likes me. I really don't." He was like, no, it's fine. You know, the only thing he asked is, "Do you smoke?" And you don't, so you can move in. So I moved in with Rich and his roommate, Sam. And I noticed immediately there was some connection between this guy and me. I'd look up and he'd be looking at me. And he, you know, just all sorts of interesting little innuendos that were non-offensive, but definitely not what I expected. And then one night I mentioned something about I was going to go somewhere, and Sam asked me, "What does Rich know?" And I was like, "Why should he? You know, it's like we're not together." And this look came into Sam's eye, and he was like, "Oh, I thought you were." And I was like, "Well, not really." So after I'd been there a week, Rich had an appointment to keep. He was going back to his home for his parents for a weekend. And so he left, And that weekend, 1 week after we really got to know each other, well, really kind of started to get to know each other, by the end of the first night, I was living in Sam's room, and I've been there ever since, 26 years. So, yeah, it was so funny because I was working on my poetry, because I wrote tons of poetry. I still do now and then. And he asked me what I was doing. And I was like, looking at my poetry. And he was like, read me one. And I said, pick a number, because I had them numbered in a journal. And he picked a number, and I opened it up and started to read and realized immediately it was one of my erotic poems. And honestly, I was just like, oh my God, I can't stop, because he'll ask why. And if I continue, well, okay. So I finished the poem, and he asked me to read another, and I read the one next to it, which is also an erotic poem. And Sam said, stop, stop. And he laid down on the floor next to me and put his hands over his head, over his eyes, crossed them up like that. And the next thing I knew, he was like, what are you thinking? And I was like, I don't know, because I didn't want to tell him what I was thinking. So he then said, I've got a question to ask you. And I said, what? Well, honestly, I thought he was going to ask if I'd sleep with him, which I would have, because I found him very attractive. But he blurted out, would you be interested in having a relationship with me? And I didn't even think, it didn't register. If I had actually thought it through, I might have said, I have to think about this, having gotten out of a bad relationship, but just something inside blurted out, yes. And so that night I moved into his room, and 2 months later, he proposed to me, and we got married 5 months later on Beltane in 1993, and here we are in 2019, approaching our 26th wedding anniversary. So yeah, I write whirlwind romances because sometimes they do work. And, I keep feeling like, when people ask me advice, I keep feeling like I should tell them to wait, but that would be, something I didn't do. So I may not give the best relationship advice, because my relationships have all been kind of wonky in different ways. I didn't really plan on talking about that, but it seemed like a good story approaching Beltane. Now, I also want to talk, bringing up Beltane, next month in the group here, we are going to have Wild Hunt Month. And we're going to have lots of contests and lots of fun posts, and I highly urge you to start, thinking about the Wild Hunt and characters you like and what you like about the books, because I'm going to give you a little hint in advance, because I want you to have the time to plan it out. One of the contests is going to incorporate cosplay for the Wild Hunt series. So think about the characters. Think about who you'd like to dress up as. And I'm going to tell you now, it doesn't matter if you look like the character. We're talking dressing up like a character. The spirit of the character. So I don't care if you are, the size I am. You can dress up as Ember. You can dress up as Angel. You can dress up as whatever character you want. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be coming up during May, along with a number of other contests. And I highly encourage you to just plunge in and get involved. And that, as I said, will be on my Facebook group. Not the Facebook page, but the Moonstalkers group. And I'll put the link in the comments below for those of you who are watching this on YouTube. Let's see, anything else? I'm working on Raven's book, Witching Hour, and I'm having so much fun. She is such an interesting character. Um, and let me see. Oh, an odd thing came up, and this is kind of off topic, but it concerns the group. In a group I'm in, one author mentioned that her group on Facebook just vanished, and a couple others said they had had that problem too. And they weren't being able to get it back, and they didn't know why it got taken down. So I'm going to tell you right here and now, if for some reason that ever happens to the Moonstalkers, go to my blog and see what I have to say about it. Go to my website, which I'll link in the comments below, because if it ever disappears, I do have forums on my site, and I know people are not into forums anymore. But if you register for my site, you can register for the forums, and we would love it if people would join in there. We're using them as kind of an archives right now of information, but if this group ever disappears, that's where I'm moving this group, for those who would want to follow. Because fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. If Facebook disappeared a group on me, I wouldn't try it again. Anything else? Silver Mist comes out May 14th. It's available for pre-order now. The pre-order is not up yet for the Witching Hour. I will get it up soon. Print for Blood Bonds is up, and as always, you can order it off Amazon. You cannot find it in stores. So yeah, I think that may be about it for now. I'm currently, besides working on Witching Hour, I am planning for our Beltane celebration, and Sam and I are planning out, our anniversary celebration, and catching up on some things that I found kind of went by the wayside during the past couple weeks. I took 2 weeks off, and honestly, I don't do vacations well. I really don't. I got a lot done in terms of administration work, but by the end, I was dreaming really weird dreams because my mind is just like, I want to write, I want to write, I want to write. So there we have it for now. Next week, I will be doing another video here, and we will put out the time for it so that you can know in advance. And it will be a kickoff to the Wild Hunt Month. So have a happy rest of the weekend, and I will talk to you next week, people. Bye.